side, because I actually see myself as a builder. As one of your speakers was saying this morning, there's a difference between being a timekeeper and a clockmaker. And being Swedish, of course, I'm very much a timekeeper, so timekeeping in terms of I get really upset when my bus is 5 minutes late. And I can get really upset when my flight is delayed by an hour. It's who I am, you know. We are very punctual. If any of you has ever been to IKEA, you see these building instructions. That's very much the Swedish mentality. We build everything ourselves. And a long way back, when I had my first conversation with the management team from IKEA, one of the guys actually said, well, do you know that Volvo was actually invented as a result of IKEA? Simply because all the Swedes dragging home their furniture, which needed to be assembled in their homes, they needed a car to put all these large pieces of wood in. And that's what the management team from IKEA said. The reason why I put this picture up here is because I think it's really important not just to think and plan your way out of recession or out of the challenges that you're faced with, but actually build it too. And it's very interesting for me because when I was a child, one of the things I spent a lot of time doing was actually building. I was building tree huts and building igloos. And I remember the first time I went for an interview in the UK, I was actually interviewing for a position. And the guy said to me, so what kind of skills, capabilities do you have that we can use in our organization? And what makes you unique? And I said to him, well, do you know what? I can actually build an igloo. And you can just look at the face of this man sitting in front of me. He was thinking, how can I make use of this person who can build an igloo? I didn't get the job, but it made me think about what did I learn as a child building those igloos that I could actually transfer skills and capabilities to the organizations and the jobs I was applying for. One of the key learning points that actually building an igloo teach you as a small child is that you may have the perfect picture of what this imaginary igloo is going to look like. However, when you're building this igloo, you're building it with your friends. They may not see this ideal picture of what an igloo should look like in their minds because they have a mind of their own. And I remember the first fight I had with actually one of my best friends. And I was saying, well, I think we should do it this way. And she was saying, well, I think we should do it that way. And what was really interesting is by combining both of our ideas, this wonderful igloo turned into this amazing ice palace, which was built by my friends over a period of 2 months until the snow actually melted. And by far the construct that we as a team built was by far better than anything I could ever have imagined myself. And that was a key learning point for me as a child, which I then took with me later into life. The fact that my ideas may look perfect in my head, but others may have an idea which is just as good and just as perfect as the one that I have. And by combining those into a joint idea, a collaborative idea, building it together, actually, as somebody else was saying this morning, 1 + 1 actually becomes 11. That was really interesting. Unfortunately now, because of global warming, there's not enough snow in Sweden, so we can't do any igloo building. But that's another story. And also, the other thing as well, anyone who's built a house knows that a house is never finished. You build and build and build and create. And just about when you're going to sell it, that's when it's finished. Anyway. There we go. So having had this perfect plan in my head of what this perfect igloo would look like, of course, when I then entered into business life, finally I got a job after I'd managed to convince somebody that actually knowing how to build the igloo was a very useful skill for any organization to have. And one of the first things I had to do as a newly graduate, and I could see there was loads of graduates here today as well, anyway, was to actually write a business plan. And you can read from the text here what I actually think about business plans in general. Look what I found. I found in the dumpster a perfectly good business plan. So what can we learn from business planning or from writing business plans? Well, as an entrepreneur, the last thing that can actually help you is a business plan. You spend the least amount of time writing a business plan, and you spend the most of your time actually doing and creating and building. A business plan is good as scaffolding, as the previous picture kind of indicated to you, but a plan is only as good as the person executing it. And what we often find is that the plan that we've developed, once you move into execution, it falls apart. So we need to rewrite it, and we need to do it concurrently. And my learning point for writing business plans at a very early age was that business plans, they need to be living documents, not something that you work on for 6 months, you bring it to an organization, and it is then to be implemented. By the time it's being implemented, it's already obsolete because the market has moved on. It's so fast-paced. It moves so quickly. The other thing as well, I've also worked a lot with young entrepreneurs, and there's a lot of programs out there which actually teaches young entrepreneurs how to write business plans. I think what we should be doing is actually teaching our youth to build their passion, to focus on their passion. There's a lot of interesting, innovative stories and innovative performances on YouTube, and those are thoughts, those are self-expressions of the passion that the youth of today have. And by focusing on the passion of those individuals and of those young people graduating from university and helping them to foster that passion and then turn it into a business plan, that is the way forward. The third picture I have up here is a picture of a child. One of the challenges or questions I want to pose to you, what can we learn from the children of today? I remember this time when my daughter was 3 years old. I have a 9-year-old daughter, and she was actually putting her favorite teddy bear into the washing machine, putting the machine on for full wash and full dry. And I was wondering, she was 3 years old, how could she do this? What's interesting with the children of today, how they learn, is that they make use of all the innovative technology that's out there. Today, I have a 9-year-old who sits in front of the computer, talks to her friend on the mobile phone while she's playing a game and also accessing her school website, playing her mathematics. She does all these things simultaneously. For me, this is not a natural thing. But just by looking at how our children are learning and working and doing and being, we can see where the future is going. We can see what the needs of the future will be and how the children of today will shape the future of tomorrow. What's also interesting to see is how children learn. We often say to children at the end of the day, after a very, very long day of playing, why are you crying? But what we forget is that children have actually spent the whole day learning. Take a child that's learning to swing. They're learning to master the tool. They go back and forth, They never give up. They fall off many, many times. And as a mother, what you want to do is, of course, help them not to fall. But they have to fall, because if they don't fall, they will never learn. But what we can do as parents for our children is to make sure that the fall does not hurt them. And if it hurts them, in such a way so that they're not damaged for life. When children are learning to swing, they sometimes also swing together with other children. They learn to collaborate. They take turns. That is the starting point of learning conflict management, team building, and learning to work in groups. Children imagine that their swing is a skyrocket that can reach the moon. That's imaginary play. Unfortunately today, with all the busy business lives that all of us are leading, it's very difficult to find the time to play. Play is important for learning. Play, keeping a playful mind and finding tools to play and interact with to help us build the business of the future is important. We need to set aside time for play in all our organizations. Play maximizes learning. Play is very healthy. Play is a way for the mind